type of money. We just couldn't afford it or weren't willing to pay it.
Yeah.
But with his two-way game, I think, and his like playmaking ability, and his he's like a player who just controls the pace of play. Like there was only select few players like that in the league. I think Kevin Hayes is an underrated one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think his style of play is comparable to Hall.
Yeah.
But I think price range wise, I think they are kind of similar.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think he's like probably like 8.2, 8.3. I think he's above like Nylander. Like Nylander got 7 million. I think he's like probably $1 million better than Nylander, and you know, like someone like that. But he's not like 9.5, you know, 10 million guy. He's just not that good, and you're overpaying at that point if you're paying that much money for him. Because I think like Panarin's probably like 10, 11 million, and he's just not on that level. Not even close. Not even close, but he's just not on that level. But anyways, moving on to the series, really interesting. You know, obviously we are doing this video a day late. Game 1 did occur, and Dallas actually took it home. For me, you know, I worry about the Avalanche because I actually disagree with Max. I do not think Francouz is sufficient. I think he's not a liability, but it definitely doesn't help that he's in net, and I don't think he's serviceable. One is his size. I didn't know he's so small. That's one thing. But he did not play well last night. And you know, Malik, if you're Avs, are you worried Holtby is injured? Holtby, are you worried Grubauer is injured? And you know, what's your prediction for the series?
Well, before Grubauer going out, I would have said Avalanche, and I think I could still comfortably say Avalanche if Francouz can play well. I think if he can have a good series, then I don't see why Colorado can't win. But I think he's the X factor for this series, because I don't see Dallas matching up really well with Colorado if Francouz can play well. I think it's really just going to come down to goaltending in this series. You know, if Khudobin can keep it up and outperform Francouz, I think Dallas has a pretty good shot. I think if I had to choose how he'd actually do Francouz, I feel like it'll probably be somewhere in the middle. I worry about his consistency. I think Dallas would be able to steal a couple games because of it. I could see this one going to 7, and at that point it'll just come down to goaltending. I think that's just a big question.
Yeah, Max, what about you?
I really do. I have confidence in Francouz. I think that he's perfectly serviceable. I think he's a perfectly serviceable goaltender. And I mean, like his stat line throughout the season: 2.41 goals against average, 923 save percentage. In his 3 games in the playoffs.
Yeah, he did play well against Arizona.
I mean, I'm looking at Cap Friendly, and it says he's played 3 games this playoffs. He has a 1.5 goals against average and a 941 save percentage.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I think he's a solid goaltender to hold his end, and it is about consistency for him. But I think the rest of the roster for Colorado is filled out, and systematically, I think even if Francouz is like not playing like a world saver, I think they can support him with the rest of the roster, and combining that with Dallas's kind of spotty offense. They're come and go, touch and go type of offense. They just don't show up sometimes, even though they did show up against the Flames.
And they're not deep.
I mean, Dallas has to be consistent on offense, and Francouz has to not play well for Dallas to take the advantage in this, I think.
And Sagan's got to show up.
I think Colorado is remarkably consistent on offense and has a pretty good blue line to boot. So
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, you look at Arizona.
I can see Colorado in 6 or 7. So
Yeah, I'm really conflicted. You know, I don't really know who to pick because, you know, Dallas wins the first game. I guess I'd probably go like Avs in 7. Just because of, I mean, you look at Arizona. I mean Arizona. God, the Avs. I mean, they scored like, I don't know, like 21 goals on Kemper, and Kemper played insane that whole series. So I mean, this is a really good offense. And they had the blue line dominance, you know, that originally I didn't think was there, and I know me and Malik were talking about that. Their blue line dominated. It's just gonna come down to Frank Kuz being consistent. But I think he, you know, I think he'll be good enough, and you know, I see Avs in 7 here. I think also Dallas isn't very deep. I think the D is all right. And I'm not that confident in Hudobin either. You know, I mean, he wasn't that great in the series against Calgary. So, Malik, who do you have in games?
You know, I think Max made a good argument on Frank Cruz, gives you a little more faith in him. You never know with the goalie who's in the playoffs for like the first time. But if he can, you know, at least be serviceable, you know, be an average goalie, or even better, play how he did in the regular season, I can't really see how Colorado doesn't win this. I'm going to say 6. If Frank Cruz stumbles a bit, I can see going 7, but I still see Colorado as a better team. I think they can get through the series with Frank Cruz.
Yeah.
We have a little bit of a sample too. They played Dallas in the round robin, and Frank Cruz started in that, and Dallas won that game. I think, yeah, Dallas won that game, so there's that. But I don't know how much stock you can put into one round robin game. So
Yeah.
I just felt like pointing that out. But,
yeah, that's true. That's good. How many goals do you let in? Probably not very many.
2.
Oh yeah, that's not bad. Okay, well, you know, there we go. That's the west side of the bracket. Be excited to talk about it again. But that'll wrap up the west side. Let's go over to the east. With our first series here, we had the Flyers and the Canadians. Obviously stellar play from Carey Price, you know, proving himself as a top 5, maybe even top 3 goaltender in the NHL. Maybe, you know, he's maybe even reclaimed the throne of number 1, which a lot of people said he was overrated at, especially like in NHL. You guys remember the comments, right, where people are like, oh my God, like Price is the best goalie? Like, no way. You know, because he like perennially was like always the highest rated goaltender in NHL. Do you think, you know, he claimed, Max, do you think he reclaimed that throne of number 1 goaltender? And what did you think of this series overall?
Went exactly how I thought it would. Montreal, the thing is, like, Price, I gave him 2 games, like, to have Price steal. So I had Philly winning in 6, which is what happened. But I was more impressed with Montreal in general, their team play. Like, obviously, Price played incredible, but Montreal, I was very impressed with how Montreal played in this series despite losing it. I thought they played really well as a team all across the board. But I think just Philly's probably, I have them winning the cup in my bracket, so I think they just came across like a really good team.
Yeah.
So, it's not I think the result is not an indictment of how Montreal played. I thought I was actually really impressed with how they performed in the series, despite losing it.
Now, Malik, you move over to Philly, right? You have a game where you get skunked 5-0, you know, the Claude Julien game, and then you lose another one. Hart was kind of in and out. Obviously, he did have 2 shutouts, and then he had 2 bad games. So if you're Philly, are you worried about your defense? What are you worried about most? And how did you think their play was overall?
This is another series. I didn't watch this one particularly much, but in terms of Philly, I mean, I feel like it's hard for me to say that they are can go 4 rounds. In my bracket, I had Carolina beating them, but obviously things have changed now. But I feel like Philly, their consistency isn't quite there yet, and I'm kind of worried about how they'll do against, one of the big dogs in the playoffs. A lot of it's going to, again, come down to heart and being more consistent. Their blue line, I think their blue line can get it done, but I can't say it's an elite blue line, at least not yet, at the moment.
Agreed.
So I think the Islanders is going to be a really interesting test for them, and I think it'll really finally answer like what Philly is.
Yeah.
In this playoffs.
100%. Yeah, I think Philly mainly won this series because you look at, Philly's top lines don't really produce. It's more, the line with Obe-Kubel, Lawton, who's on that line? It's like Obe-Kubel, Voracek, Nate Thompson, and then the Hayes-Lawton line, which is like incredible. I think Philly's depth kind of got the best of Montreal here. But it's kind of interesting because you look at Philly's top line and it really isn't like not that much of a producer in terms of points. I mean, they really get most of their production and win most of their games from, their bottom lines and their decent blue line. But you move real quick. Let's talk about Montreal. Max, is this a successful season? If you're the GM, are you happy with this season and how do you move forward?
You can't really say overall they're happy with the season because of how disappointing a regular season they had.
Yeah.
But you should be happy with how they showed up in these playoffs. I'm personally just they blew my expectations right out of the water.
Oh yeah.
We just completely dismissed them. Yeah. We clowned on them in that play-in preview, and they just made me eat shit. Made both of us eat shit. So. Very, very, very impressed with how the Canadians played. The GM should be proud of the roster. However, it does suck to get knocked out in the first round after losing the chance to get Lafreniere.
Yeah.
They still have some issues I think they need to address. It's not a roster that I think can make any deep playoff run at all. But they can be a playoff team if everything goes right.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that.
Malik, what about you?
Yeah, I think they're in a honestly, I think they're in a pretty good spot moving forward. The series also went how I expected. I said Philly 6. I thought, there'd be a couple price games in there. But yeah, Montreal, I think, can be very happy with how they played in the bubble. I think moving forward, they have a lot of draft picks. They have 3 in the second round this year. Then 2 in the third round, 3 in the fourth round, and then the next year they have a couple picks in the third round, fourth round, and fifth round. They can package all these picks to either get players or trade up. And I think, given how the team looked this year, and then with the prospects moving forward, I think they're in a pretty good position. I think they can be pretty happy with how this year went.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think they're in a pretty good spot. Do you add a forward or do you add defense if you're Montreal, Max? I mean, I think both, maybe. Their blue line is like 2 lines deep and then their third pair isn't very good. But Max, I mean, do you focus offense or defense or both?
I think they should focus more on defense. Looking at the offense, we had the emergence of Nick Suzuki as a very, very solid first line type of guy.
Yeah.
He keeps up how he played in these playoffs. It was an incredible performance from Nick Suzuki, and you're gonna want to utilize the rest of that ELC wisely these next 2 years because it's going to command a lot of money if you can continue that type of play. If Nick Suzuki keeps playing like that, I think their offense should be fine. You might want to get a middle 6 type player to improve, but not any big splash type of signing. I don't think on offense. Defense might be where they want to focus. To be honest, they have a ton of cap space. Right on the cap friendly it says like 4.5 million. So
they're gonna have to extend Domi though.
They're gonna they have to extend Domi. You might, but they can also drop Dale Weiss too.